Welcome to my channel, and this is English Podcast.
What was your first ever job?
So my first ever job was actually working at a sailing school. So eventually I became a sailing instructor, but in the beginning I was just a helper. So I would help move boats and tell people who wanted to rent the boats what to do and where to go. So we rented kayaks and small sailboats and small catamarans, and that was the beginning of my working career.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Right. Mm-hmm. Was that like a summer job?
16. It was a summer job.
And is that common around that age in America?
I think that because we have a longer summer break than a lot of other countries, I think it's pretty common for American teenagers to have some kind of a summer job.
Right. Mm-hmm. So yours was working at a sailing school.
Yes.
But you didn't teach sailing at first?
No.
That came later?
That came later. I had to work my way up to that. Well, of course, my very first job was as a babysitter.
Yeah.
So I actually became certified to babysit, and I babysat for our neighbors' children for several years.
Yeah, growing up watching American movies, that seemed quite a common thing to babysit.
Yeah.
And what age were you when you did that?
I think that I got my certification when I was about 12. So probably from the time that I was 12 until, much later. Mm-hmm. It was not a regular job, but every couple weekends or so, I would do some babysitting.
And before, did you know how to sail before going to the sailing school?
Yes. So I actually started out as a student of the sailing school, which is how I learned to sail.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. And I've been to that sailing school before.
Yeah.
Remember when you took me out on the, is it
catamaran?
Catamaran.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I got soaked.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also took me sailing once in Athens, Georgia. Mm-hmm. It was boiling.
Yeah.
That day. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And you were in sailing club, right?
That's right.
At university.
Yep.
Or at college. Mm-hmm. Very good. And how many summers did you work at the sailing school?
That's a great question. I probably worked for 4 summers at the sailing school, 3 or 4.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I still kind of miss it. That's one thing that I think of when the weather gets summery. I think, when am I going to get out on the water? When am I going to see my friends? Let me ask you a little bit about your first job.
Okay.
What was it?
My first job was a paper round.
Okay.
Do you call it a paper route here?
I think we would call it a paper round, but it's a pretty uncommon job for young people to have today.
Right.
I think that that was something that people older than our generation had.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it was very popular when I was younger. My friend and I, we went to the local newsagent and we asked for a paper round job, and we got one.
Okay.
And I think it paid around, the first one I had paid £9 per week.
That seems shockingly low.
Well, yeah, it was a lot of money.
Yeah,
when you were 12 or 13.
When you were 12.
We had to be 13 to do it.
Were you 13?
I think I might have been 12. I can't remember. I was probably 13. But it was, it was a cool job. It was fine. Because I started off doing the afternoon round. Mm-hmm. And mine was so easy.
Okay.
I think because they start you on the easy round to begin with. It might have only been 25 houses. And you wore this paper bag I think that's what they called it, or paper round bag. And you put your newspapers in there, the Lancashire Evening Post, and you just deliver them through the mailbox.
Were they heavy?
Those weren't. But then my next one was I had to do it on a bike. So you put your bag on your back, fill it with newspapers. It was really heavy. And I went on a bike. And the Saturday morning edition especially was very heavy because they have those extra magazines in them. And that was a morning one. And I think that paid £14 a week. It was more than any other paper round because it was the hardest one. But I enjoyed it.
So you got paid about £2 a day?
Yeah.
How
No,
long?
well, 6 days a week. I don't think I did the Sunday one.
Okay.
But yeah, I was 14 or 15.
How long did it take you?
45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, about 45 minutes. And then, yeah, after the paper round, I know you want me to talk about this. I had the milk round.
I know. You had a milk round.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that there is no one in our generation in the United States who had a milk round.
I wonder if they still do it in the UK.
I don't know.
It's not as... I did read that they're trying to bring it back. And if you're a little bit confused, a milk round is when there's a milkman and he has a milk van. And he fills the milk van with milk.
With milk.
But bottles of milk. And instead of going to the store to buy milk, every morning you have milk delivered to your doorstep in these little glass bottles. And they had different colour tops, silver, red and blue, I think. And silver was whole milk. I think red was skimmed and blue might have been half and half, something like that. And we used to stand on the back of the milk van.
This
I think
is
it's a milk van.
crazy to me. This seems so dangerous.
It was.
Yeah.
And at 5 a.m, we get picked up. It took us 2 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, so he'd shout out 2 silver. So you grab 2 silvers, you run, you can't walk, run to the door, put the silvers down, take the empty bottles, and then put them back in the crate, the milk crate. And I did it. I only lasted a few weeks because it was the middle of winter. And my friend was small, so he could duck under the van. But my head was like sticking out and your hands were frozen because you were collecting those empty milk bottles that were freezing.
I cannot imagine that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it.
But that wasn't my most dangerous job.
What was your most dangerous job?
At the driving range.
Oh.
Did I ever tell you about that job?
I think you might have told me a little bit, but clearly there's more to talk about.
Well, so at the golf driving range, I think I was 15, and then I was doing the milk round, and then we realised that we could get paid £5 an hour instead of £2.50 an hour to work at the driving range. But they started all the new people in the wrong way.
Uh-oh. What did they do?
Well, they gave you one of those like tubes to collect. You had to stab on the ball and it'd go up. I think it held probably 20 balls, this little tube. And they'd say, okay, go to the 150-yard line, which is the most popular range to hit when you're practicing golf, and go collect the golf balls. And they did it. They put us out there at peak hours. And they gave us a helmet. So like a motorcycle helmet. And and if you go to the driving range and you see some kid with a helmet on collecting golf balls, that's an immediate target.
Oh no.
So everyone would just aim for you, and it was dark. And you just didn't see these balls coming, and they just hit you in the back, hit you in the leg.
Was it really painful?
Yeah. I mean, getting hit by a golf ball. It's incredible that they did it before health and safety went crazy and banned those kinds of jobs. So yeah, that was a job I did for a little while, but it got a lot better because I only worked Sundays after a while. And the Sunday job was easy because nobody went to the driving range on a Sunday because they were playing golf.
Right.
But then you get in one of those carts. What are they called? Like the quad.
We call them golf carts.
Well, it wasn't just a golf cart. It was more like a buggy.
Like a dune buggy?
Yes.
Okay.
And then it had this thing on the front where it would collect the golf balls. So we collect the golf balls. No one would come. And then we'd hit the golf balls.
Yeah.
So it was a fun thing to do.
Did your golf game get a lot better?
A lot better.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, a lot better. I bought some golf clubs there and started to play a lot of golf. Yeah.
Do you miss golf?
I'm going to start playing again.
Great.
So yeah, that was an interesting job. What other jobs have you had after sailing school?
After sailing school, to be honest, most of my jobs have been teaching jobs.
Yeah.
So I've been an ESL teacher abroad and online. I have also been an English language teacher to American students. So I've taught English language arts, which is like literature and reading and writing. And I've done that in public schools. And then I'm about to be an assistant teacher. So most of my jobs have been teaching in one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah, and we lived in Spain for a couple of years. And we both taught English there.
Yeah.
Which then led to all of this now.
All of this, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any jobs at college?
I mostly was focused on studying, and I was the captain of the sailing club, and I had
Sailing club.
Sailing club. Well, it was like a sport, but it was also kind of an intramural recreational sport. So we competed, but it was also a lot of just more relaxed activities.
Right.
We weren't a college competition.
No, and that's important because in the UK, if you'd say I'm on the football team or the rugby team, it doesn't mean that much. People don't watch this, but in America, when you think of the football team, then 100,000 people are watching.
Yeah,
but the sailing club, you only had 20,000 watching.
Yeah. 20,000. No, it was all very relaxed, but we were competing against some schools that had very competitive programs.
Right.
They beat us.
Yeah.
They beat us. Yeah. But so that was one thing. I was doing some freelance editing.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time.
That's right. You used to write books.
Yeah. That's right.
I remember that.
So I did a lot of I did some ghostwriting and editing and that kind of work too. What has been your most challenging job?
Most challenging? The first thing that comes to mind is teaching teenagers in Spain.
Yeah.
And that challenging in the sense of it caused me the most amount of stress and frustration. And it was quite difficult to keep them in line, let's say.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. I would say that teaching has been my favorite job, and that it definitely has its moments of stress and pressure from a variety of sources. And then you mentioned that we were going to talk about dream job.
Yes.
What's your dream job?
You know what it is, don't you?
Is it this?
Well, the idea of the dream job is something that you're not doing now, but you could do.
You could do. Okay. So if you weren't doing this dream job, what dream job would you be doing?
Football manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And why do you think that would be your dream job?
Well, I would say football player, but that's not going to happen anymore.
Okay.
Not because of my technical abilities, but because of my age.
Yeah.
And then, football manager. Well, I actually grew up playing a lot of computer games where you are the football manager.
So like a soccer Soccer manager.
It was called, the first one was called Championship Manager, and they rebranded it to Football Manager.
Okay.
And it's just where you're like the manager of a team. You buy players, you organise training, you have the tactics going on, and then you play a game, which usually is just text on the screen telling you what's happening.
Yeah.
And I love it. I used to play that for hours and hours and hours. But I'd love to be a football manager because firstly, I love the sport.
Right.
I think I'd be pretty good at it if I applied myself. And I just find it really interesting trying to problem solve all the time and come up with tactics to beat a specific team. I think the man management would be really interesting to like talk to specific players in specific ways. And just to try and win things, you know, to be successful at it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think that in many ways I am doing my dream job already because I'm continuing to teach. I get to spend time with kids. So all of that are things that I love. But I think that if I was going to add something into the mix, I would like to work on my writing more and be professionally recognized for that. So that would be my goal, to write some books.
Is it your goal?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, still very much so.
Cool. Have you had any other jobs in the past?
I think that's more or less covers it. I've done various things. I've worked at an exercise studio. I have I've done different permutations of teaching. Yeah. So teaching corporate clients, teaching one-on-one lessons in English. But yeah, there's that thread of teaching kind of woven through it.
Yeah. I think I've probably had about 30 jobs in the past.
Wow.
Some of them have been like temporary, where I've been doing a lot of data input and admin for 3 weeks at this company, 3 weeks at a different company. But I had that marketing manager job for a couple of years before we met. Call centres, worked in bars. That was interesting. I worked at the Student Union nightclub when I was at university.
I bet you have some stories from that.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting time, and I didn't really enjoy it.
No,
because you're sober and everyone's really drunk.
Yeah, that
and they're
sounds
just
terrible.
They're trying to get free drinks from you. They never tip in England.
Oh yeah, that's another conversation.
I've done some cold calling, which is quite frustrating because people don't want to answer the phone and talk to you. What else have I done? I was a porter in a hospital.
Oh yeah, that one also is an interesting.
Some stories there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Porter is where you basically transport patients around the hospital, and then you do tasks here and there. And if people are getting aggressive, then the porters go.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were like the hospital bouncer?
Well, I don't know why they asked me to go one time, because I was really young and very skinny. And there were bigger guys than me. And there used to be a couple of security guards, but then they asked porters to go with them if there was any trouble. And some people are just crazy.
Really aggressive, or maybe having like a mental health crisis.
That too, but I mean, there's someone that I used to see at the gym, and she used to work out for hours and hours, and then she was in the hospital once, and she started to get very aggressive with people. And she threatened to like put needles in my eyes or something.
Oh my gosh. And
then I saw her at the gym the next day, and she just came over, and she was my best friend all of a sudden.
So you've been hit by golf balls. Yeah. You've been almost dropped off the back of a milk truck. You have had to be a bouncer in a hospital, and the hardest job that you've had was dealing with pain.
Yeah.
Like you've had some experience.
Well, I'd say the most challenging one actually was when I was the marketing manager, because we used to run expensive campaigns with very tight deadlines that had to get results.
Right.
And we were constantly advertising in newspapers and magazines. And I was in charge of getting the ads together and choosing the right ad for the right magazine and doing all that kind of stuff. That was very challenging. But because of the deadline.
Probably, now that I'm thinking about it, that was probably the job where you built your set of skills to be able to do the other things that you've accomplished.
Yeah. I want to just quickly talk about time off.
Oh, yeah.
So to take some time off, which means to not work. And this might be for vacation, for sickness, for national holidays.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest differences is the amount of time off you get in America versus in the UK.
Yes. To be honest, there are many wonderful things about living in the United States. Paid time off is not one of them. So I think that the average job, 9 to 5, full-time job, comes with about 10 days off a year.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include national holidays, which there are a few national holidays, but that's it.
Yeah.
So 10 days off. So if you get sick, or if your children get sick or anything like that, it's really easy to eat through the time off that you have.
Do you
paid.
get sick days?
That's a great question.
Or does it depend?
And to be honest, I'm not sure about it. I think it's a different company policy,
Right.
Depending on where you work.
Right. And in the UK, I remember it was 28 days paid leave. Is that the right way to say it? Paid leave here?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or paid days off.
Paid days off. Yeah, 28 days. And I remember actually when I was working in that marketing manager job, by the way, they didn't give me the title marketing manager, but I was a marketing manager. I don't know what I said.
I can call you marketing manager.
So you'd look at your calendar for the year and you'd have to get in there quick to get the days that you wanted, because you couldn't clash with somebody else or with more than 2 people in a department. And I remember I got them off for the World Cup in Germany, which was well worth the time off.
Sure.
And that same year, the Leeds Festival. And then I can't remember what else. But yeah, you used to have to plan ahead and say this date, and get in early.
So you would basically have about 4 weeks off.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Oh, more than that. Because the work, 5 days, not 7.
Oh, okay.
You know, so more like 5 weeks and 3 days.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then, but where we worked, the factory used to shut down between Christmas and New Year, and you had to take those off.
Oh.
That was one thing. So you didn't have as much flexibility there, but it was good to be off, you know, between Christmas and New Year.
Do you think, and there are lots of studies about productivity in the workplace and holidays, do you think that your time off helped you be more productive?
Probably. I think it's always good to get a break. I might have been more... Well, to be honest, I think for me it was more important about the working day and not taking breaks during the working day and not standing up, getting away from your computer, getting a little bit of exercise. I think that's more detrimental.
Yeah, I could see that. And I haven't had really an office job where I was stuck in one place for all day, but I know that when I have had a full work day, just psychologically, I really prepare rewards for myself throughout the day. So I'm like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. It's muffin time. Time for some coffee and a muffin. Or like, oh, it's 11 o'clock. Gonna like take that little walk around the building or whatever it is.
That's what, we did that when I was working in that office. I mean, it's a very British example, but a cup of tea.
Yes.
You know, someone would brew up at 9:30. And everyone will get a cup of tea. And someone else would brew up again at 11.
You do drink tea every 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what, that's the reward you're talking about. To brew up and get a cup of tea.
To be honest, I miss that a little. And I definitely miss having regular coworkers over the summer. Yeah. Just like a couple people that you can really share jokes with and, get to have that experience.
I think it's important. Yeah, and in the space that we're in, there was I think you waved to somebody before?
Yeah,
right?
I did.
So there are other people who work here in the different offices, so I do get that interaction. And it's important. Working on your own sometimes, especially when when you're just like talking into a camera on your own. Yeah. It feels really strange.
But it's also amazing knowing that there are all those people out there who are going to watch you.
Yes. But you don't feel that in this moment.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing.
But it's fun to talk to you too.
Yeah.
We're like coworkers right now.
Yeah. We need to do this more often.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I think we can wrap it up there.
All right.
It's the beautiful time of the video. Kate's question. Okay.
So my question is, what is the most interesting job that you've had? And also, what is your favorite part about working?
Great. Great. Most interesting job you've had, and your favorite part about working. Perfect.
All right.
Well, again, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Did you finish the homework?
I did, but it was confusing.
Which part?
The conditionals.
First, tell me what you understand.
If shows a condition.
Correct. What happens after if?
A situation.
Yes, a situation or a condition. Then what?
The result.
Exactly. Can you give me an example?
If I study, I pass.
Closed say, I will pass.
Oh, okay. If I study, I will pass.
Good. What kind of conditional is that?
I don't know.
It's the first conditional. We use it for real, possible situations.
Real?
Yes, something that can actually happen.
Oh, like, if it rains, I will stay inside.
Perfect.
So, first conditional is real situations.
Exactly. Now, what about unreal situations?
Unreal.
Yes, things that aren't likely to happen. Do you know what we use?
No idea.
We use the second conditional.
Oh, like?
For example, if I were rich, I would travel the world.
If I were rich, why were, not was?
Good question. We use were for all subjects in second conditional.
Oh, so if I were taller, I would play basketball.
Exactly.
Now that you understand the first and second conditionals, let's practice some more.
Okay.
If you had $1 million, what would you do?
I would buy a big house.
Good. What else?
I would travel to maybe Japan.
Excellent. Why Japan?
I love the culture and food.
Great reason. Now, let's switch. You ask me a question using the second conditional.
Okay, if you were famous, what would you do?
Nice question. If I were famous, I would probably write a book.
A book about teaching English?
Maybe. Or something creative. Now, let's try the first conditional.
All right.
What will you do if you pass your English exam?
If I pass, I will celebrate with my friends.
Sounds fun. What will you eat at the celebration?
Probably pizza.
Great. Now, ask me a first conditional question.
What will you do if it rains tomorrow?
If it rains, I will stay home and read.
What kind of books do you read?
I like mysteries. How about you?
I don't read much, but I like comic books.
That's a great start. Reading comics can help with English too.
Really?
Of course, you can learn new words and expressions.
Oh, I should try reading more.
Good idea. Now, one last question. What will you do if you don't understand something in English?
If I don't understand, I will ask you.
Perfect answer.